Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and welcome to this week's episode of Maconomics. I'm your host, Ross Mac, and I'm here to try to help you get to a bag. We got a new caller calling. Talk to me, what you got?
Ross, hey! Listen, after 9 years of working at the retirement home, I am on my way to entrepreneurship. That's right, listen, I couldn't take Earlene beating on me not one more day. But listen, now I have a 401k that I'm not using and probably not gonna use. What do I do?
Man, for starters, man, congrats on getting the new job. And now you're asking a question about what to do with your 401k, right? So when you get a new job, there are 4 options usually to actually take, right? So 1, you can keep your money where it's at, right? You can keep it with your current employer if they actually allow it. 2, you can move it to your new employer's retirement plan if they actually have one and they allow that. 3, you can roll it over to an IRA account, which I'm gonna talk about a lot. And then 4, lastly, you could actually take the cash. Here, you might want to consult with a tax advisor before doing so, because by taking the cash, you may have to pay taxes on the distribution, and as well as, depending on how old you are, there may be a 10% early withdrawal penalty. At the end of the day, I definitely consider talking to a financial advisor to kind of help you with these different options. Now, if you're considering rolling your 401k over to an IRA, let's actually talk about the benefits as well as the negatives, right? The benefits, well, 1, you're gonna have fewer accounts, right? May be complicated trying to manage several different accounts, right? Different plans, as well as trying to remember all those different passwords, right? Then 2, you're gonna have a wider investment selection in the IRA, right? You have the ability to choose from things such as bonds, stocks, mutual funds, index funds, as well as exchange traded funds. Then lastly, there may be lower costs, right? IRAs sometimes have lower expense ratios. Now let's actually talk about the disadvantages of rolling over to an IRA. 1, there's creditor protection risk. You may have credit and bankruptcy protection by leaving your money where it's at in your 401k. However, the protection from creditors is going to vary from state to state. And 2, loan options are not available with your IRA. The funds that you have in your IRA generally going to be less accessible because with the 401k, you can actually borrow from yourself. Now, when it comes to actually taking distributions, you can generally withdraw funds without the 10% early withdrawal penalty from your 401k if you leave your employer at the age of 55 or older. But with an IRA, you generally have to wait until the age of 59 and a half to withdraw funds to avoid that 10% penalty. Now let's actually talk about the 2 more common IRA plans. You got the traditional IRA and the Roth IRA. The Roth IRA lets you accumulate earnings on a tax-deferred basis and withdraw earnings tax-free for qualified distributions. Unlike a traditional IRA, contributions to a Roth IRA are not deductible on your federal income tax return. However, since you already paid taxes on this money that you contributed to the account, you can withdraw the contributions without any tax consequences. Now let's talk about a traditional IRA. A traditional IRA is a tax advantage arrangement that allows your earnings and contributions to grow tax deferred. And in that time, the contributions you make can be tax deductible. That means you don't pay any income taxes on the earnings or contributions of your IRA until you begin taking withdrawals. And also, contributions to a traditional IRA may be tax deductible depending on the income of the actual tax filer, as well as some other factors. So in conclusion, man, prior to rolling over your assets from your 401k retirement plan into an IRA, it's important that you understand the different options and do a full comparison on the differences and guarantees and protections offered by each respective type of account, as well as the differences in the liquidity, the types of investments, fees, as well as the potential penalties. We understand planning for the future can be difficult, but we also understand it is vital. And State Farm is here to help guide you through that process. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.